Talk about it all here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Make sure and hit that like button, share button, comment button.
You know, one thing about Jaden that I've tried to talk to him about is tightening his chin strap. Because he doesn't tighten it, so every time he gets hit, it looks like his helmet's all messed up. And it's like, oh God, he just got rocked.
For the win! Caught! It's gone! LSU does it!
After fucking Saturday night in Tiger Stadium, boys. Are you kidding me?
Well, LSU fan came stuck his spike in my booty.
That motherfucker hard!
Fan brought his 2 grandkids by and literally was just 30 seconds, just wanted to say thank you for the team and the season and what you did and how much it means to everybody here is truly what makes LSU special.
Yeah. Coach Kelly, we're official.
Finally,
I'm
get a
telling you.
chance to meet you. Thought I had to get a private audience with the Pope. There's Jordy.
Monday through Friday from 7 to 9. Yeah, you see the notification. We about to go live. We got all your favorite guests. We got them in line. It's the Jordy Culotta Show.
And you
Come have a
started
good time.
tearing up, answering the question. And I thought, my God, if Chica is offered this job, she's going to take it.
It's just a crazy, fun time at LSU right now. Isn't this what everybody loves?
From the boot to the east to the west coast. No matter where we at, we live. Open up the phone lines. Come and join the show. Make sure you tell your friends about Jordy Culotta Show. Yeah.
Let's go! Let's go! All right. Big start. Big day. Nice start.
It's the Jordy Culotta Show. Come have a good time.
Coach, it's great to meet you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you for the time.
$13, $12, $11, $10. Skip a few. 3, 2, 1. You're live.
All right, welcome in and good morning here from the Jordy Culotta Show on this Friday. I'm hungry. He's chicken and fries day.
He's back. Send him to Hooters.
This Friday, as we are closing out the week, getting ready for Mardi Gras this weekend. But we've got our message.
Hooters.
Want some beads?
Yeah.
We've got our message from.
Sell your soul for a couple pieces of plastic. When you meet your maker.
It's unbelievable. the things people will do
Yeah.
for beads that you're gonna throw away when you get home.
Oh yeah, they'll hit the dirty Bourbon Street ground. You're like putting them on. Now they're showing butthole for them.
I've seen. It's that big one. It's the real big one.
Butthole?
No, the beads.
Yeah.
They hold a sign next to it, and so if you're in New Orleans, you see someone walking around with that chalice of beads around their neck.
Be prepared to show some beads.
You understand what happened to
At
get
least
them.
those are multi-purpose. You know.
Brian Burgess this morning. Good morning, everyone, and happy, fantastic Friday. Today, appreciate life's simple pleasures. Enjoy enjoy the unexpected surprises and revel in the happiness that Friday brings. Let your passion set the tone for an incredible weekend ahead. Tom Granning says no more game day interviews of coaches after LSU women's basketball obviously loses last night to Alabama in Tuscaloosa.
We'll always have the immaculate grid.
I really was feeling good going into the game because of how Schwartz crushed the immaculate grid yesterday. He had a couple. He was very closely associated with the names he was saying, like Miles Turner. I was at Texas with him. Rashard Lewis,
my neighbor,
my neighbor growing up. But it was a rough night for LSU women's basketball last night. Don't forget, we are brought to you by R&B Builders. Built and brought to you every single day by Rhett and his team. The phone line is brought to you by Southern Regional Medical Center. Today at 8:30, we've got Wilson Alexander from The Advocate. He's going to join us to talk some LSU football. He put out some really good write-ups on Wednesday talking about Harold Perkins and Whit Weeks and their health and some different things like that. And then obviously the news of Bo Davis yesterday was huge, and he had a really good write-up there as well. So we'll have him to talk about that as we close out the show. He'll join us at 8:30. And then don't forget, every day we're brought to you by, I don't have Christian, I'm not putting it on, 888-8888. We're part of the G Squad. Gordon McKernan, Louisiana's big truck injury lawyer. Every single day he brings you the Jordy Culotta show. And he's also the NIL king here in Louisiana, not just LSU, universities all around the state. 888-8888. GetGordon.com. Get Gordon, get it done. And if you haven't noticed, this little quarter zip I've got on, Lloyd's back there. If you can tell, we're twinning.
We are
this morning.
Pearl People Eaters.
Check that logo out on that top shoulder of Lloyd's. Other one, yeah. See that logo? That's Roback.
Pet that dog.
We told you about our brand deal, our partnership brand deal, whatever you want to call it, with Roback at Roback, and you've got code TIGERS TIGERS for 20% off to get some gear like me and Lloyd have got.
Roback.
We're gonna pull this open. Lloyd got 2 pieces of gear.
That's right.
I guess we could give it to Christian, but it'd probably be a little too big for him. Just open this pack.
A little bit of an unboxing.
It's even great packaging.
Shout out COVID.
This is even top tier packaging.
Oh yeah.
Like
you pay for what you get.
100%. Lloyd had a handful of comments when he was putting it on.
Oh.
Just about how soft it is. They've got the nice little stripe on the back.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. And then, of course,
tags.
So
you know it's real.
So you know it's real. But there it is.
Jordy might show up for that. Big quarter zip guy.
100%. This is, see the logo on the sleeve? I like this one.
Can I pet that dog?
That dog is stitched on the side there.
That's how you know it is official.
That's how you know. This is the real deal. Roback, make sure you use our code TIGERS, TIGERS, for 20% off of your order. Great quality, like Lloyd said.
Softest thing I have slid on in quite some time. You can feel the quality.
100%.
Don't even need an undershirt under this, or else I'd be nipping hard.
You are already.
I will.
Peekaboo.
Got him pierced.
But yeah, I mean the quality's excellent. So I mean, get your hands on some Roback.
Made with real dog.
Do what?
Made with real dog.
Let's maybe not. Let's not burn the bridge already, buddy. But you know, if we still have some chilly days in baseball coming up, or the P-Max a little extra icy, this is the perfect thing to wear. Soft, comfortable, keep you warm. 20% off with code TIGERS. A lot to get to this morning. obviously LSU baseball takes the field tonight against Kansas State. Is it tonight or is it this afternoon? It's tonight. Tomorrow's the afternoon. Tomorrow's at 4, I think. Tonight against Kansas State as they get ready in Frisco, Texas for some big-time matchups this weekend as they take on Kansas State, Nebraska, and Sam Houston State this weekend. Obviously, the news yesterday of LSU football's defensive line coach Bo Davis leaving Brian Kelly and LSU and heading to New Orleans to join the Saints coaching staff.
It is this afternoon.
This afternoon at what time?
Friday. That's today. 2 o'clock Central.
Oh, it's at 2. Okay.
Saturday, 4 o'clock Central. Sunday, matinee, 4 o'clock Central.
There we go.
Kansas State. Pinch me if I'm dreaming. Super regional team last year.
Really?
And they're coming off wins over 22 ranked TCU and top 5 ranked Arkansas.
Oh, okay.
And they started
this will
off
be a big one.
Yeah, started off 1-4, I believe. But they had played a gauntlet. They played Coastal Carolina. If you know anything about your LSU lore, came into Alec Box Stadium and absolutely took a super regional from you and did a lap around Alec Box and got like the victory lap where people,
I was there.
Yeah, LSU was patting him on the head like, good, oh, great effort. Way to take one from perennial powerhouse in your own stadium. And like, here you go, get a victory lap. It's like, at some point, you can't be that happy for him. Like, game 1, great.
Yeah.
Not game 2. Not game 3.
Let's lock in and focus up here.
Yeah, right. But so they played Coastal Carolina and North Carolina to start their season. Started off a little rocky, but now they are in full swing as they've won 3 in a row.
Yep. So, I mean, it's going to be a big one for LSU this afternoon. 2 p.m. first pitch for the Tigers. Cade Anderson, I expect, will be on the bump as they get back to their regularly scheduled programming. I would assume Kason Evans is still good to go this weekend.
Yes.
As he didn't pitch all that much.
Yeah,
on Wednesday.
They asked Jay about it after the game on, what's today? What did they play, Wednesday?
It was on Wednesday.
They played on Wednesday. They said if he'd be available, he said absolutely available for the weekend because he goes, look, I mean, he only threw 10 pitches in the ninth. And I was like, yeah, he did only throw 10 pitches in the ninth, threw 22 overall, and was absolutely somebody that is key to what your bullpen is doing as of now. But you have a plethora of arms still available, but Case Evans probably available to shut the door, and you're watching a closer develop between your very eyes.
Yes, right in front of your face.
Yes.
You're watching that happen. So, big one for LSU today, and obviously some big games this weekend. I'm excited to see how they respond to the challenge because I think they did such a good job responding on Wednesday. Obviously, there were some things to improve. Would love to see them swing the bat better with runners on base, not leave the bases loaded. It was twice on Wednesday, bases loaded, no outs. And LSU squanders it, doesn't score.
Yeah, bases loaded, no outs, back-to-back innings. That's the second time that's happened this year, where you saw it happen against Omaha in the first loss of the season, where they had in the first and second inning loaded the bases and did not score a run. And then it happened again, where they had, I think it was in the maybe sixth inning. They had bases loaded. No, it was later than that because they had they'd already made the substitutions, but they had bases loaded, nobody out. Twice, and also did not score a run. You could see that they're trying to find ways to manufacture runs as they're getting people on base.
Yes.
15 left on, as we've talked about, but still. There we go. Stream 3.
There we go.
Lock it back in.
Got it.
So you can't, like I said, you can't have it both ways where you have an offensive output that gives you the opportunity with runners in scoring position or 15 on base, and you squander it, so quote unquote. But obviously, like I said, enough to score 7 runs. That'll win you the majority of your ball games with the pitching staff you have put together. Yeah,
and if you just open it up a little bit, where if you can just clean it up just a tad and find ways to get
and score 10.
Yeah,
every game.
It would have been like if you score 1 run each of those innings, people probably aren't talking about it the same way they are right now when you leave bases loaded twice.
If you score, I mean, that's the goal. If you're able to score 1 run an inning.
Right.
You're going to win a lot of baseball games.
And I think I think a lot of it's last season still resonating much with everyone where LSU just had a disease with leaving runners in scoring position, runners on base, all the above. And now this is twice this season for the Tigers that you've seen that issue kind of pop one back.
I mean, you could literally you could go back in time and just those 4 instances. That's 3, 6, 9, 12 runners left on.
Right.
So
So
it's easy to point to whatever it's bases loaded, nobody out.
100%. Yeah, I mean, bases loaded, nobody out.
You should get one.
You should 100% get one. And I assume that I believe that they're going to clean it up, but it is a tad bit concerning at this point, but it is still early in the season. So that's one thing starting tonight. You would obviously like to see them. Yes, this afternoon. You'd like to see them execute better. Obviously, LSU women's basketball falls in overtime last night to Alabama, 88-85. Hunter Hall shot me over a DM yesterday.
He was texting me.
Of course he was.
Yeah.
As LSU was, as Alabama was going on their run and was up relatively big in that game, he's like, we really missed a perfect opportunity for a watch party tonight. I was like, well, of course you would say that as Alabama's winning by 13 in the second quarter. I was like, I mean, I don't completely disagree with you, but of course you'd want to watch us suffer as the Tide controls the Tigers in the first half of that game. Felt a lot like Kentucky again last night, where LSU just didn't come out swinging. Alabama did. They get up to another double-digit lead early in the game. They didn't let it quite get as far ahead as Kentucky.
Yeah, Kentucky got to, 16?
16.
Bama got to 12.
And it also felt like when Kentucky was up 16, it felt like they were up by 100.
Right.
Alabama didn't get that far ahead, but Alabama shot the ball extremely well. And me and Lou were talking about it before we came on, where there were just times where even when LSU got it rolling on offense, it felt like Alabama had a response every single time, whether it was a Nye 3, as she was just unbelievable for the Tide, and then or it was a little turnaround jumper in the lane where Alabama was just able to get whatever they wanted. I thought the biggest thing of this performance for LSU that was not the best was the defense. The defense needed to pick it up way more than they did in that game, where Alabama just was so easy to find points, whether it was threes, scoring in the lane. It just came way too easy for the Tide, and it's a tough loss for LSU. Obviously, they're still chilling at the 3 spot. They've got the double bye in the tournament. They didn't have to win this game, but what they are still vying for is a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament, as the rankings came back out yesterday, and they are still sitting with a number 2. And so if you want that, they would be in UCLA's side again, so they'd have to play UCLA like they did last season. You obviously want that 1 seed just because it makes you feel a little bit more comfortable going into March, and that's what LSU's playing for right now, but they drop a game last night. I thought that the determination I saw in the second half and the fight that LSU continues to show, that's what I'm impressed about the most out of that game. There were a lot of ugly and baddish things from last night. The one good that I'll address again after I talked about it after the Kentucky game is the fight that this team continues to show. I mean, they are never out of a basketball game because they'll lock in on defense, they'll get stops when they need them, and they can go find buckets when they really need them. And when LSU needed a win last night, they weren't able to get it done. Like Messina says, they're not going to get a 1 seed now. I doubt it. Just after dropping that game, it's going to be hard to find unless they go on this run in the SEC tournament and win the whole thing. But credit to Alabama last night, as they played an excellent game and they performed well. They took advantage of how LSU was letting down defensively, offensively. Alabama dominated the glass to start. But LSU made some key shots down the stretch. The free throw line is something that sticks out to me. But my biggest complaint for the game in totality had no effect on why LSU lost, anything like that. It was such a poorly officiated game. And Kim talked about it in her press conference, where it was just hard to get in the rhythm, hard to get in the flow of the game as a coach, as a player. I thought the game was officiated poorly on both ends. I thought there were multiple times that Alabama deserved foul calls. I thought there were times that LSU deserved foul calls as they got into the lane. And one time, Flaugier gets to the rim and gets hacked. Like, she goes up for the layup, and it's just both hands swatted down. She hits the deck, no call. it was such a poorly officiated game, and it did not really get in rhythm for LSU. Carl Dunn asked, where's the bench play? Richard ADR was a non-factor. They really didn't play all that much minutes-wise. I mean, this is the team. You kind of just have to accept it for what it is now. Miracle Shepherd, I thought, played an excellent game off the bench. She had 10 points and 4 rebounds, and she made massive plays down the stretch for LSU. Whether it's deflecting basketballs, going and getting a loose ball, defensive rebound. She made a huge 3 on a Michaela kick out, and she played probably one of her best games as a Tiger last night. But this is who your team is. The bench depth is not going to really step up at this point because you haven't seen it all year. I mean, Richard played a handful of minutes. She played well, but didn't do anything spectacular. ADR didn't really get many minutes. Jersey got in the game, gave up a bad layup where she just wasn't paying attention. I don't know if she got back in. Flaugier had an off night last night as she got into foul trouble. Anissa was in foul trouble here and there. Samaya was in foul trouble. Those are the things where you're talking about not able to get in a rhythm because players are getting subbed in, subbed out, moved around, foul here, foul there. It just wasn't a good performance for LSU last night when you really needed one, if I'm going to be honest, because you wanted to vie for that number 1 seed, and you don't get it because of your loss. So a lot to learn from that game, I think, for LSU, where they've seen kind of another hard-fought game. This one doesn't go in their favor. Once again, on the road, that's where my concern comes in for March, is now this is 3 losses this season, all 3 of them against ranked SEC opponents on the road. You've only gone and beat a ranked opponent in conference on the road twice. 2 out of, 5 times? I mean, so you're 2-3. That's 40% of the time. And you just saw Kentucky wallop Tennessee last night. It does bring a little bit of concern for me when you're talking about going and performing on the road against top opponents.
Yeah, so the current bracketology as it stands today, after the loss, obviously they did a little bit of reworking of the bracketology. LSU has been losses at both South Carolina and Texas, who have both been on the one line, the most seed of the most tournament bracketology. Selection committee has the Tigers as the number 2 seed in Spokane Region 1 with UCLA 28-1 as the overall top seed. LSU is one of 6 Southeastern Conference teams in the top 16 projected seeds as of Thursday. LSU is also paired with number 3 North Carolina 25-4 and number 4 Kansas State 25-5. UCLA, Texas, Notre Dame, and USC made up the number 1 seeds in the top 16 reveal. Tigers number 7 overall. And while there's a regional site closer in Birmingham, which is what Joe Schwartz, the coach for LSU women's basketball, on staff there, that's the one they were vying for, as you would hope people would travel. It's a little bit easier to get to Birmingham, obviously, than Spokane, but now It seems you are headed west to Spokane as the Tigers look to, I guess, bounce back. Because, like you said, I don't know if there is a avenue to become a 1 seed unless you win the SEC tournament, which is in the realm of possibility. And you would it's tough. That basically is the NCAA tournament light. And so you do want to see LSU get back to its winning ways because you've seen a tale of 2 teams almost. You have the LSU women's basketball team that gets up 16, 20 points and then gives up the inevitable, I guess it's a game of runs, gives up the inevitable run back to where they get up early and then you see that lead kind of trickle away. Like they were up, 16 against Texas, who's the number 1 ranked team in the country, and you see that game kind of get squandered and kind of fall by the wayside.
I think, if I'm going to be completely honest, on who exactly the team is, whether it's, like we said, slow starts or fast starts, LSU needs to find a way to kind of hash that out, to get rolling as the season moves on. Tough one last night, but all in all, I think you still see a team that's very competitive. Alabama is a good basketball team. There's a reason they're ranked number 20. They had a good out-of-conference record. They've been so-so in the conference, but they'll still make a run as they were very competitive.
I would, you could say all of that. I would line it up against Alabama any day of the week.
100%. But they're still,
that
a good team. And the way they played last night.
That's as good as they can play.
As good as they can play. And they, to me, a good team is one that when their opponent shows a weakness, you're going to take advantage of it. And Alabama took advantage of LSU's mistakes every single time last night. And that's what made it so difficult to overcome, get back in front, and win that game was because you couldn't get away with anything. Because every time you fell asleep on defense, there's a backdoor cut happening right behind your head. I think I saw that 4 or 5 times last night where one of the LSU defenders is just kind of looking, ball watching, or expecting a screen or whatever, and a cut happens right behind their back. And Alabama makes the pass every time. And so that's why you have to be active every second of the game. You have to be paying attention every second of the game because if you don't, they're going to make you pay. There's a few ones that just kind of stick out in my mind. I think Jersey Wolfenbarger, when she got in the game, was ball watching, backdoor cut right behind her. They make the pass layup. Samaya Smith was ball watching, backdoor cut behind her back layup. Michaela Williams is guarding the ball. She kind of looks over at the screen to see, I guess to get over it or go under it. She looks over, and when she looks, the shot goes up by the girl that she was guarding, and they make it. They took advantage of every single mistake that LSU made, and that's what made it tough to overcome. Because then when you feel like that's happened, it feels like you can't catch a break ever. Even though LSU did catch a few breaks where they were able to make a couple plays and they were able to screw up and get away with it. But when you have a performance like that from the opposing team, you have to play almost perfect defensively, and LSU did not. The defense last night left a lot to be desired. And Hunter Hall's really feeling himself in the chat this morning as he obviously witnessed the performance last night. I felt really good going into overtime. When you're talking about LSU last
minus
night,
184 if you wanted to snag it.
Yep, I felt really good going into overtime because, one, Nye for Alabama was just playing out of her mind. I think she missed 3 shots, and it felt like she missed none.
She was 9 of 12, 3 of 4 from 3 points, had 28, and then you get her to foul out, and then the big that they had.
Was it Cody?
Yeah, Essence Cody starts cramping up, and so she goes to the sidelines, and there's a stoppage of play while she was cramping. Then we see the massage gun come out, and she was trying to check back in, but clearly wasn't 100% yet. She's chugging electrolytes. They're trying to get her back. Then the refs are like, hold on, we have to stoppage of play here. I think it was the Flage tip. Whatever they were reviewing to see if it went, who had ball, like who touched it last. And that was obviously an instance where, look, I can see you can go to replay and see who touched it last, but then if you look at that play in totality, I mean, Flage got fouled.
100%.
But you can't go back and make that call. And then Flage, again, whenever she catches a nasty elbow from Ashley Barker, the 3-syllable, Sarah Ashley Barker, and catches an elbow, but you can't go back and retroactively take a foul away. So Flage fouls out. It sends, but they review it and review it as a technical foul, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, saying that she elbowed Flage in the face.
Right, so LSU gets the ball, 2 free throws, ball back. Obviously, you missed the front end.
Right.
Michaela makes the second. Is that when she got the layup blocked?
Yep.
Yeah, so that was kind of your ball game in a nutshell. Obviously, Michaela was very hard on herself after the missed free throw and the layup opportunity where you saw maybe they said she was, well, the broadcast, I didn't see it, but she was clearly in a state of disarray when that happened, and it felt like it was all kind of coming down on her head. But you still had an opportunity to send it to another overtime with a 3, and they drop another play for Michaela. She misses, and that was your ball game. But it was an instance where we were talking about this before the show. If you see somebody that's visibly like upset and kind of check themselves out the game because like they're still thinking about the previous play and what had happened and where, if I make this free throw, this is a different game. Like, you have to have the ability to move past that. It's a Barker Brothers flush it.
Yep.
But that's a learning opportunity for Michaela. Like, you've thrust yourself. This is the player. This is who you are.
Right.
Like, you're going to get these opportunities. You're going to get put on the free throw line when you need to make 2 of them. You're going to get the last shot. I understand you're just a sophomore, but you're the best scorer on the team, and this is your basketball team, especially on an off night for Flage.
Right.
Like, there's not many other options to score the basketball, which is wild to say because, like, there were runs for LSU where it felt like anybody could give you a bucket.
Yes.
And now it's starting as you get closer to tournament time. Defenses are kind of learning what your tendencies are. And Michaela, one of the best one-on-one scorers in basketball, like, you're going to get those opportunities. So you can't relish in the fact that you missed a free throw.
Right.
Because you got time on the clock, and guess who's getting the rock again? You.
Yep.
And so
drew it up for at the end.
Right. So that's a total coachable learning moment where you go back and be like, hey, like, are you still with me right here?
Right.
Like, because you're getting the rock again. And that's something that I think is, while you don't really learn the lessons in a win the same way you do in a loss, and that is something that I think is a very teachable moment 100%. For Michaela that she can bounce back from and be like, look back on and be like, in a year, like, that will never happen to me again.
Yeah. No, I mean, I you know, from a coach's standpoint, you draw that play up because Lloyd made the point before the show. Like, why do you go back to her when she's already checked out mentally, obviously upset about the free throw and the layup? When you go into that huddle and you're down 3 and you need a shot, you know, what's the thought process to go back to her? Why not go somewhere else? Which one, the reason they went back to Michaela is because Flage was out of the game. I think if Flage's in the game, probably a different conversation. But to me, the reason you go back to Michaela is because you don't want to kind of triple down on the mistake where you miss a free throw, you get your layup blocked. Well, now coach doesn't trust me to take the shot. That could be just detrimental to the mindset in that point. And I'm not saying that Michaela would think that, but just that was my first thought was, you know what, you missed that layup, you missed the free throw, whatever. We still trust you. Go make it happen. And they got a good look at it. The play worked. They drew it up well. They executed it well. Didn't get the shot to fall. And so that's a tough one for LSU to have here at the end. But all in all, I think they'll learn from it. And I'm excited to watch them in the SEC tournament as they close out the season as well, because they're still a very talented basketball team.
And one positive to take from it is Miracle Shepherd. I thought was one of her, like, I guess, breakout performances where you saw her make her first 3 in a while.
Right.
I think she was 2 of 4.
Yeah. She goes 0 for 2 from the line.
Yeah, 0 for 2. Yeah, exactly. That gets the ball back, makes it 1 for 1 on threes, and that's the first. I think she's taken 11 this year. That was her first make of the year, but the shot looked smooth and had to have it.
Right.
Like, needed a 3. Gets kicked out to her. She makes a bucket, but she played 25 minutes, gave you 10 points. She's the only one with a positive plus-minus. I still think that there's room for KG, who is in the running, Kaylin Gilbert, to be sixth woman of the year. And I'd like to see her play more than 18 minutes, but obviously I think that there's a trust factor there with the 2 turnovers, minus 15. I mean, you can look at all those numbers, but the 4 of 9 and her automatic offense is something I just feel like she was in at the in the late stages of the game, but that's offense that just it plays because she's also one of those girls that is ISO whenever you don't have a Flage, when you need some like Anissa Mora's in foul trouble.
Right.
If we want to be able to get a bucket, you got 2 girls that can go get you one.
Well, and that's one thing for me. And there was a play last night where LSU ran one for KG closer to the end of the game after Alabama kind of responded on offense. You get back on this end, and they ran like an overload set, which means everyone kind of ends up on one side of the floor. And KG was just one-on-one on the other side, and she takes a pull-up mid-range. And I like a design like that, but in the moment in the game, it was something that stood out to me because it was like Alabama, I think, just scored back-to-back times down the floor. You need something solid. Yeah, don't make them work too hard. And you go, really, to me, when you're playing you run an ISO play, it's all or nothing. That's putting all your chips in the middle of the table. Where it's like, obviously you have your trust in your player. You believe in your cards, but you're pushing all the chips in. And it's kind of a succeed or die moment. And so I'd like to, like Lloyd said, the bench needs to step up continuously. But I thought Miracle Shepherd, like Lloyd just alluded to, played excellent. In addition to those 10 points, I mean, the Nye foul at the end of the game, the one she fouled out on, is because Miracle Shepherd is pursuing the basketball, diving for it, and Nye tries to like kind of run through her to go get it. If Miracle just kind of lackadaisically walks at the basketball, it's not a foul. Nye grabs it, scores possibly, or stays in the game, whatever. She made it happen. And I thought that was a huge performance for LSU as they kind of went small ball at the end, where I think there was a line. It was the lineup of Shepherd, Flaugier, Michaela, Anissa, and there's
Day
one
Wilson.
more. And Day Wilson. And which I didn't hate, especially defensively when you're trying to press and get back in the matchup. They kind of copied Matt McMahon's style and went small ball with one big. And so I'd like to see them improve on a handful of things as they close out the season. Like shot selection, I think, is still shaky. I still think you get away with a lot because you have Samaya and Anissa down there dominating, trying to rebound. Because I think through the first half, I don't think they had any second chance points LSU did. And it's tough to win because that's what LSU kind of lives and dies on, is getting an offensive rebound and scoring it. Anissa made some big plays in the first half to keep you in it. I think there's still a lot of room to grow, but they have the opportunity to do that ahead of SEC tournament and March Madness as well. But they're still, to me, one of those 7 teams. When you're talking about 7 teams that can win it all, LSU is still very much in that mix. They just have to kind of get the pieces to kind of all fall together at the right time, and they have the opportunity to do that in the coming weeks as March approaches. Because March starts, what, tomorrow? Tomorrow's March 1st?
Yeah, 28 days in February.
So March starts tomorrow. March is the month of basketball.
It's also the month of the Jordy Culotta Show channel.
Yes, don't forget. Right now we're on 2 channels. We're live on NewOrleans.football and the Culotta Show channel. Starting next week, we will be live only on the Jordy Culotta Show channel from 7 to 9 every morning. We will still have content that lives on NewOrleans.football, but the daily show will be live on the Culotta Show channel. So make sure you're over there. We've got about 40 in the chat right now over there. Make sure you're all over there next week, prepared, not searching for where the show is. I'm ready for a few DMs and messages asking, where's the show at this morning? What's that? I get it, but I'm letting you know now. If you're in here watching, if you're one of these 100 or whatever people in here watching, next week, live only on the Culotta Show channel for your daily 7 to 9 Jordy Culotta Show. So make sure you're ready for that. And obviously, if you're LSU women's basketball, flush it. I like Lloyd's idea here, the little flush it. Brought to you by Barker's Brothers Plumbing and Works. 225-776-2431. 15% off if you mention the Culotta Show.
And if
LSU
you can't
women's
flush
basketball
it,
needs to flush it. And if you can't, call that number.
225-776-2431.
No website, no social media, only that number. So if you need to flush it, give them a call. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with more of the Jordy Culotta Show right after this.
Sports, a local staple in Baton Rouge to all sports fans, was founded back in 1981 and has remained a family business for over 40 years. Today, they still have the great selection on the floor, but they're also a leader in custom apparel for businesses, sports teams, and other groups. Take it from us, everybody over here at FM Digital Media. They help us out with all of our apparel. Let them help you out today. Go ask for Cody over at Red Stick Sports. Check him out online at redsticksports.biz.
The Jordy Culotta Show is brought to you by A-Bears Lawn Maintenance. Commercial or residential, A-Bears Lawn Maintenance is ready to work. A-Bears can tackle all your homeowners association requirements. Call Blake at 225-485-8022. A-Bears Lawn Maintenance.
Are you looking for sound financial advice? Then get in touch with Daniel Newman of Edward Jones. You can call him today at 225-261-8262 or email him daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. If you're planning for retirement, saving for college for children or grandchildren, or just looking for sound investment opportunities, get in touch with Daniel today, 225-261-8262, located on Magnolia Square Drive in Central. Daniel Newman of Edward Jones.
Well, the Oscars Andrews Sports Medicine Institute collaborative effort was an idea from Dr. Andrews and myself to bring together two great names, the Andrews name and the Ochsner name, to elevate the quality of care for athletes in the state of Louisiana, where he's from.
I always thought I would come back to Louisiana and practice orthopedics with my subspecialty being sports medicine. This was an opportunity through Ochsner's to come back and work the entire state to help develop and take sports medicine to a new level.
As an orthopedic surgeon, what this means in the future in terms of, access for our community to the type of care that Dr. Andrews pioneered, words can't describe how valuable that is.
Ochsner has a great opportunity here to really grow, and Dr. Burnham, of course, is the mainstay of making that happen. If you want to have first-class sports medicine care, check in with Dr. Burnham and his group, and you'll be more than impressed and pleased.
48 Insurance Agency, established in 1946, helping you with your home, auto, commercial, life, and health insurance needs. Around in Baton Rouge at 4275 Government Street and online at 48agency.com. Whatever insurance you're in the market for, home, auto, commercial, contractors, life, and health, get in touch with 48 Insurance Agency, 48agency.com, or give them a call at 225-383-0682. 48 Agency.
Get Gordon. And get it done. Yeah, everybody know Gordon in a 225. And he done link with Big Foe. He got buku ties, Ferrari sliding, flying in a new coupe ride. And every time I ride by, I see a brand new sign. I'm with Gordon, I know that he gon' get it done. Whether it's a big truck crash or a hit and run, recovery funds, he fighting to get a ton. Mike Epps, man, we all about the Benjamin. Handling injuries, man, are you kidding me? Gordon McKernan, that's champion energy. Yeah, family man with a family plan. Get Gordon, he gon' fix it like a handyman. Get Gordon, and get it done.
Welcome to Trifecta.
Trifecta Sports Therapy in Baton Rouge. Recover, repair, restore. At Trifecta, they believe in total body wellness. Trifecta gets the body back to its full potential. Whether you're a youth or pro athlete, a pre or postnatal mom, or if you lead an active lifestyle or a senior citizen, Trifecta has the class, the sports massage, the sports therapist, the stretch therapist, or the equipment like infrared sauna, cold plunges, and golf simulators to find your best. Find Trifecta online at trifectasportstherapy.com or check out the beautiful facility today, 8221 Goodwood. Trifecta Sports Therapy.
Hey, Tiger fans, when traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, make sure to visit us, Tom and Wright Granning, at Go Mart on the Go Deli.
Go Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you may need on your trip.
Located at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on your left.
Also stop by Wardo's Po' Boys at 309 North Broadway on the beautiful Natchez Bluff,
where everyone is family.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Cut my headphones up, bro. Yeah, right there. Now I'm focused on getting deposits. Evil in the way, now I'm just driving around it. They said I need a soul searching, I already found it. I unlocked my other side, now I'm sounding astounded. Drive by and let it ride like I'm whipping a Tesla. Pressure never fazed me, cause I'm bigger than pressure. I'm on my grind, bullshit, can't fit in my schedule. I'ma do what's best with me, you can keep all your lectures. Spend the summer stacking bread, might be gone to November. Pulling up like Trey Young just to freeze up December. I got niggas on the blood like traditional sinners. OGs love me, so I hang with traditional winners. I took a break for a minute, I had to go charge up. Had to focus on my business, I'm coming back smarter. Hit up DJ, tell him go like I'm dropping the quarter. Coming back like KD, it's time to go harder. Bounce back, can't let you fold up. Keep pushing, can't let you slow up. Bounce back, can't let you fold up. Keep pushing, can't let you slow up.
All right, welcome back in here, hour number 2. Glem is calling me out in the chat, thinking that I'm going to blow by ad reads. We actually don't have ad reads scheduled. They just kind of happen. But Lloyd did help me out with that one.
Which one?
The Barker Brothers one.
Oh, yeah. What do you?
Set that one up.
You gotta, stay on your toes. When you see an opportunity, you hop in.
Take it.
Yeah. I'm a shoot from the hip kind of guy.
Oh, we know. But we're going to get into the real nitty-gritty here, as we're going to go through the full discussion here. LSU football, obviously news broke yesterday while we were live. That was the craziest thing to me, is because we never have news break while we're up, because it's 7 to 9 in the morning. News usually happens in the afternoon, and we'll talk about it the next morning. But news breaks yesterday morning. Bo Davis is leaving LSU and headed to New Orleans to join Kellen Moore's staff with the Saints. Obviously, we discussed it yesterday morning. We've now had a full day to kind of digest it, think about what has happened. Lloyd, what's your mindset now after you've kind of had a day to bask in it?
When you said there was breaking news, I thought you for sure were going to bring up Gene Hackman and his death and what happened. That's a totally bizarre scenario. I was like, I guess this is breaking news and we can talk about it. This is infinitely worse.
Yeah.
Bo Davis is like, rest in peace to Gino. But, I mean, he didn't even, there's a fake basketball coach. This is a real football coach. Like, that needed Bo Davis.
Yes.
So it was a shock to the system because I was doing I was doing a deep dive on Gene. Dog was wrapped up. It was a weird story, very bizarre.
Well,
we could get into it later, but
the craziest part was just, sorry to cut you off, to talk about yesterday. Like when it popped up in the chat, then I realized it was real. You were still doing your LSU baseball kind of update, and I was over here like shaking my legs, like ready to. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do.
But, yeah, breaking. Hit me with the sounder over there. Like, hold on, yeah, we got some news. So yeah, the Bo Davis news that came through the wire yesterday. Obviously, we have to. I just gave you time to check your sources, make sure, double check.
Of course.
Triple stamp. It's true you can't triple stamp a double stamp. But we were blindsided from after reading and listening to Shea from 1-3. He did his. He has his sources that are obviously infinite and vast, and he did his due diligence and said that while we were blindsided, LSU was not. They've known about this for up to 72 hours, so it seems as if they have their ducks in a row for who they want to hire, at least who do they want to pursue.
Right.
So if you see this thing flip over rather quickly, that's because LSU has been ready to strike. But with that said, there has been no news of a hire as of yet, so this will be you have to operate on a separate timeline from ours, as you think they have 24 hours to digest it and make a move. This is now day 4 for LSU to be able to make a move, and given the current timeline, it is something that you'd like to happen with the quickness. As March 8th, I believe, is when spring football happens. Yeah. And obviously you do have a placeholder in one Kevin Peoples, who has, in his, 30-year coaching tenure, he has worked as a D-line coach at previous stops. Just at Missouri, he really found his, calling as, he became more of a specialized edger.
I was waiting
working
for you to do
he loves to work on the edge, and you've seen that come to fruition with the development of Savion Jones. Obviously, Braden Swinson is having from the one clip I saw, is doing a hell of a job at the combine. Oh, yeah. So you at least have a placeholder with somebody that can work this way, but the amount of turnover at the defensive line coaching spot for LSU is unbelievable. When you do a deep dive. Preston Guy had a list of all of the coaches. I'm going to pull it up here in a second. That going back through LSU's history, going back to I believe 2020, and it is astounding to see that you have not had any consistency at the position, and that's why you brought Bo Davis in. I felt
right, you finally thought you had it.
This was his last stop. You go all the way to Austin, Texas. You identify your guy, and you make the pitch, and then you make a what's the number?
Right.
Let's get down to what really, if this is what's going to move it for you. LSU has the propensity to. Hey, we'll break out the checkbook if this is what it's going to take, and you identify your guy, make him the highest paid defensive line coach in the country. He has family littered through Louisiana.
Right.
And you're like, well, this makes total sense.
He was kind of like the one that you've had on the top of your list forever.
It was the
what is it called? It's your White Buffalo. The
Great White Buffalo.
The Great White Buffalo. Like you finally had him for one season.
And from the reports, I feel like there was no other job that he would take. He's been in college football now. Like, obviously, he's worked in the professional ranks. I understand that. But then he gets to what he's done in college, his style of coaching, his development of talent, all of that screams college football to me.
Right.
And then you finally get him to LSU, and it feels like this is your last stop. And then per se, and the source is close to him, and what this story, this is the only job he would have left LSU for as the New Orleans Saints, because it allows him to stay close to family. I believe he has a daughter at Southeastern, like family littered through Louisiana. And the only job, as you only hear this when it comes to LSU coaches or when it comes to recruiting, that's my dream school.
Yep.
And those are the absolute kiss of death, at least for this university.
Feeling ever.
So you have him, the only job he would have left LSU for is the one that I think is not in the best of favor right now with LSU fans. And
there was an all-out war on Twitter yesterday, LSU versus Saints.
Ron hit me in the DM. Shout out Ron. He's like, man, it feels like you got home and mom and dad are fighting. Like, you don't even know what to do. You don't know what side to pick, but they're going at it. And it's like, maybe for you, Ron, but this is like a stepdad kicked in the door for me. It's like, get him out of here.
Yeah, what is he doing?
Like, you're not my real dad. Unless that was Sean Payton walking through the door.
Right.
Like, I don't want to see Kellen Moore's fat face come and grab Bo Davis from my staff. Like, get out of here. But kudos to Kellen Moore and he's putting together a good staff.
Yeah, well,
but get out of here.
When you look at it, it's a great move for the Saints. It's a good move for Bo Davis.
Yeah.
It just really sucks for LSU.
And you keep being left with your dick in your hand at this defensive line spot. And when LSU was, and it's the timing of it all, not just in the sense of the short term for like practice,
right?
But what you were building and how you're trying to make a national championship run. This was a mainstay of not only recruiting it, but developing it. And then you see, obviously, who Ahmad Bro on Twitter is like, I don't even know what to think anymore. And people are like, what are you talking about? It's like, are you born under a rock? What do you think he's talking about?
Yeah.
Like, he just lost his defensive line.
His D-line coach
and
just left.
If anybody benefited the most.
Right. 100%.
From Bo Davis, it was Ahmad Bro. So I get why he would be like emotionally invested into this, because he's like, that is who made me the player I am to now. And I saw nothing but the ceiling is the roof for me.
Right.
Because, like, if you give me 2 more years, and he made a position change, it was still one of the most impactful player you had on the defensive line. And so I get his frustration, but that's what you're going to have to deal with. And now the clock is ticking in a sense of,
what are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
Yeah. No, I mean, look, like I said, I get it from the Saints' perspective. I get it from Bo Davis' perspective. You got to think about it. For him, the theme has kind of switched when you're talking about college ball and pro ball, where college ball used to be all about development and pro ball really wasn't because of contracts and it's just professional. It's different. It's kind of flip-flopped where the development is less in college than it is professional now, because in college football, you don't know who's going to be on your roster every season. They can leave. They can, as much as, and that's what Bo Davis loves. That's what he's good at. I mean, you saw what he did in that D-line room for LSU just this past season. And now he's in a completely new defensive line room when you see guys that are leaving, things like that. And he goes to the pro ranks, his dream job, obviously, he says. It's a tough pill to swallow for LSU, but my thought process is the season, I'm like, this isn't some detrimental program falling apart situation. Because if to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, Lloyd, if a position coach leaving is detrimental to your program's success, then the program isn't all that good in general, right? Or am I wrong in thinking that?
Say that again.
So, like, if the program is going to fall apart because one position coach leaves, then the program wasn't set up to be all that successful anyways.
No, but my feeling on it is like the staff that you would build had become like the parts were greater than like the sum of your parts are greater than the whole. Like you needed the way that you had constructed it was, we're going to have the best position coaches at each spot, or at least in your mind, you've made the right hires for LSU to be able to build it through recruiting, development, and selling it, right? Like, and you had all of these people in place that are quote unquote like Louisiana guys. I know he's not from Louisiana; he's from Mississippi, I believe, but went to LSU, worked at LSU as a strength and conditioning GA. Like he's LSU,
right?
And like that was kind of the baseline of it, and to see that it's a hit to what you're building in the coaching staff. Like I know what you're saying. Like if you're contingent on your defensive line coach being your linchpin as to why you won a national championship,
right.
Sure. But you can also look back at when LSU didn't have a defensive line coach and the absolute debacle it was. Like obviously you're blindsided by Philip Lindsay and the health issue, but you had no contingency plan to the point where you brought in an 84-year-old man to
Pete
Jenkins to come coach your D line, and that was like a godsend. That was really almost. You could look back on like the sands of time and be like, this might have been Brian Kelly's introduction to the, like just how strong the lineage of LSU is.
Right.
Like, whoa, we got a guy, like listen to us about who we can bring in. And he's like, oh, okay. If Pete, like, you can get Pete Jenkins here. Like, okay, what's his tie? Like, I would expect him to know who Pete Jenkins is, but not his history with LSU. And so that was your fix. Like you had a staffer that was just kind of shadow staff lurking around and becomes like you're coaching the defensive line.
Right.
And it was clearly an absolute, like there's stories of Mason Smith saying I was coaching the defensive line.
Yeah.
Like that's what we were trying to do. I'm trying to put him through drills.
I'm trying.
So that is not ideal for development. And so you can see two sides of it where you get every ounce of talent squeezed from the rock by Bo Davis last year. And then that was a difference maker.
Right.
Because you look back to a defensive line that was extremely talented, but Kai Wingo, Mason Smith, like go down the list of guys who are like, this should be better.
Right.
And you didn't have a coach until week 4.
No, I agree. And I there was a lot of discussion and scuttlebutt about what LSU is going to do. If it's just a people's promotion, if they keep it in the building. To me, a hire is going to be made. LSU is making a defensive line coach hire. Who it is, I don't have that answer, but they're going to hire somebody. I think if, just timing-wise, I think if this would have happened during fall camp instead of right around spring football, the conversation's completely different. But if you're LSU, you have time to go find your guy and make the hire. And like Lloyd said, this is the first 24 hours for us. This is day 4 for LSU. So they're going to find their guy. They're going to go get him. I don't have an idea of who it's really going to be. Wow. So, yeah, you have Coach Brick Haley, and then you have Coach O. Then Coach O becomes the head coach.
Mm-hmm.
And he has Pete Jenkins. He goes Dennis Johnson. Bill Johnson was the last D-line coach to stay for more than one season.
And
in 1920.
Meatball in 2018 was going into 2019. That's when he blew out both his knees.
Right.
So they had to get an on-field coach and Bill Johnson. Now Dennis Johnson is the defensive line coach for the Baltimore Ravens. So I had one of my guys hit me. I was like, go get Meatball. I was like, I think he's pretty happy where he is.
Yeah, he's chilling.
So that is not somebody that is probably in the mix for the job. But shout out Meatball. What a career rise. But, yeah, double ACL is brutal. And so you bring in Bill Johnson. And then you remember, I mean, we've lived this experience from then on. Like, Andre Carter was probably our first year of the show.
Right.
And then Jamar Cain, obviously, great relationship. And then you have him and the Matt House debacle that I stand with my guy, Jamar Cain, as it's been proven to be the right side of history.
Yes.
And then you have the Jimmy Lindsay, John Jancic.
Well, you bring in Chapman to be the interim defensive line coach for a period. Gerald Chapman, I believe, was the interim between the Kane-Lindsay era, who is now the defensive line coach at
South Carolina,
Florida, I believe. And then obviously the Jimmy Lindsay health.
Oh, that's who I was talking about. Yeah, I think he's at South Carolina.
Yeah, well, Jimmy Lindsay becomes the guy. He obviously has the health scare, isn't able to be,
at Western
around.
Kentucky.
He's at Western Kentucky. And so then you go through the Jenkins deal. And so then what you feel like you do is you finally go and get your guy. And he's now headed to the New Orleans Saints. Bo Davis leaving LSU. It's as much as it is a tough pill to swallow, just because the turnover, the lack of continuity at that spot. I do think LSU is going to be okay. They're going to go. They're going to find their guy. They're going to make the move. I don't know exactly what it's going to be. We threw out a few names yesterday. I think Chapman is a name where he obviously was the interim, had a relationship. He's now at Florida. I don't know if he this is the part to me where it gets tough, is if you're going to poach a guy from another team, you got to think about the timing on their end as well. They just finished a recruiting class. They're getting ready for spring football. And there's going to be a spring portal window and things like that. You're going to have to essentially make whoever you bring in a pretty well-paid defensive line coach as well. Because
that money slot opened up. It does raise the question for me, though, because of how much college football has changed. And I see Brock Heimel in the chat, Culotta Show chat. He left because he's lazy and wants the NFL coach's schedule and doesn't want to recruit. Yeah. I mean,
you can't be mad at him.
That's not lazy. That's a life decision. Like, he's on the back end of his career. If you can make my life easier, and I'll take a pay cut to do it, and
instead of small pay cut.
Yeah,
not like I'm cutting it in half.
But I'm cutting my workload in probably more than half.
Right.
Like, you could say he doesn't want to recruit. It's the ever-changing landscape that we're now in. It's not just recruiting. It's negotiating. He's basically having to do two jobs at once, and a third job of actually coaching. Like, I now have to recruit it, and now I have to negotiate it, and now I can coach it, and I also have to retend it. Like,
well, at the same time,
I would leave, like...
If you just look at the situations LSU's been in recruiting-wise this past cycle, you can recruit it as well as you want. Bo Davis is a great recruiter. He probably doesn't want to spend all that time recruiting just for another team to come in and drop a bag of money on the table and say, you know what, never mind, I'm gonna go there. It's a whole different world.
Yeah.
So it's not as much lazy. It's why would I work that hard for it to not work out? Because think about the situations he's been in, where last year in the portal, when he first got here, the spring window, they brought in a couple of defensive linemen because they didn't have anybody, and the money wasn't there to support him to make that move, to go get those guys. It's tough to go spend all your days recruiting and miss out or lose out because of money. That's not fun. So why wouldn't he go to New Orleans and take the job where he can do the same thing, work not nearly as hard, not have to recruit, just develop talent, and that's all he has to worry about.
You get to be a coach again,
right?
And so, I can't fault him for any of that rationale, because same thing with Jamar Cain. People are saying, go get him, buddy.
He's chilling.
It's the same situation. But I'm not coming back to college football. And Jamar Cain is one of those guys that's built for college football. Loves the recruiting aspect, loves to beat the streets and go get guys and win those battles. But now, because of the way that it's all developed, it's not the same job anymore. And if you're asking somebody that, I would imagine Bo Davis in his upteenth year coaching, and now you drop NIL in the transfer portal in his lap, he's like, I'm not doing this shit.
No.
I can't. You're seeing, this is what's happened in coaching, especially from the old guard.
100%.
He's a Nick Saban disciple who was the first one to hit the doors.
Rolling. See ya.
Who are you? What are you asking for? Bye. I quit. I'm
100%.
out. And I don't blame him, because this is not the football that I'm used to coaching, and now I have to change. A cat can't change his stripes. And so for him to be able to get into what more of just I just want to coach football, I don't want to do any recruiting on its own is something that you have to he was a good recruiter to a great recruiter.
Right.
I think it was more about his calling card was development. That's what he'll be able to do for the New Orleans Saints, and you'll probably see it make a difference. And you go from 5 wins to 5.5 wins.
If you're going to talk about the same, I think Brian Brzee is probably going to be the biggest winner out of all of this. He's got somebody that's got all the talent in the world, and now he's getting Bo Davis to come in and coach him up. It's a great move for the Saints. For someone that still has some Saints fandom in their heart, this is a great move for the Saints, and I'm happy that Kellen Moore's putting together a staff that's going to be successful. I just wish he wasn't poaching from the LSU coaching staff. So there's a few names out there, and I think Spectrum in the chat said Pete Jenkins said that BK has already done Zoom interviews with different candidates. I think some guys that some names to throw out there. I think Chapman won, obviously, because of he's been here before. He's at Florida. I just think that conversation is tough because he's at Florida, and the timing of it is going to make it difficult. Another one would be, the Tiger Droppings name of the year. Kyle Williams is the hottest name on Tiger Droppings because it's just the timing where he's the Ruston defensive coordinator. He steps down and resigns to pursue other opportunities, and now the defensive line coach position at LSU has opened up. So I would say possibly that name. I don't know if LSU is going to go after him. That's just another name that's come up. Obviously, in the chat yesterday, Lloyd, you had a few names. I think Mike Elston, who has been BK's defensive line coach at multiple stops, is with the Chargers right now. That might be one to keep your eye out on. I really have no inclination of who it's going to be, but I know they're going to go make a hire. And I think that that's the right move because you want to keep Kevin Peoples where he's comfortable and where he's going to be the most successful, and that's as your defensive ends coach. And go make a hire. And you have to find somebody, to me, that can come in and keep, one, the guys on the team, build a great relationship with them. Two, the biggest aspect of this defensive line coaching situation is Richard Anderson and Ed Carr, for me. Because that is the best player, in my opinion, just from watching last year's state championship game as he goes up against JT Lindsey and Ash. He's the best player in the state of Louisiana because he is just a dominant force. And he's one of those guys, if you are LSU, you really can't miss out on. If you can go get, to me, the best player in Louisiana, one of the best defensive linemen in the country, who's already committed to LSU, you have to find a way to hold on to that commitment and get a guy that can build a relationship or already has a relationship with him to make it happen. Obviously, NIL and things like that are going to come into play. The relationship starts first. And so that, to me, is probably one of the biggest things when you're talking about the list of what you want from your defensive line coach. Richard Anderson, to me, is pretty high up on that list. Find a way to make sure that comes to fruition because he's one of those guys that can come in and be an instant impact. And to me, he's a can't-miss guy if you're LSU. Richard Anderson is the defensive tackle at Edna Carr, class of 26. I think he's the number 2 or 3 player in the state for next season. Obviously, you see Lamar Brown's tweet yesterday. We talked about it where he said that LSU is still his number 1 regardless of the situation. Richard Anderson, to me, is one of the biggest kind of dominoes in this situation. That's either going to stand or fall when it comes to LSU. So LSU needs to find a guy that can come in and will stick around. Because you need continuity in this room. This is just it's unbelievable, really, when Lloyd put up that list, that it's 8 guys. I mean, you're talking about Jacoby and Guillory, who's been at LSU for 6 seasons, right? 8 defensive line coaches. He's had 8 different defensive line coaches in his time at LSU.
6 years, 8 coaches.
It's unbelievable. He's gone through the Johnson, Carter, Kane, Lindsey, Jancic, Jenkins, Davis, the Chapman, the whole deal. He's at it, all of them. And you have to find some semblance of continuity.
Tiger Droppings is so funny, dude.
What you got over there?
John Gruden. Possible name.
For defensive line coach?
Yeah.
Fire.
But then there's a 3-page thread on the return of Ed Orgeron.
Of course.
And
of course.
The rationale is actually, it would make a lot of sense. In a perfect world where candies and nuts are all nothing but butts, that's not what is going to happen. O would be addition by subtraction if we somehow pull it off. He walks in the door as a top 3 D-line coach in America and also a top 5 recruiter. And we would have our head coach in waiting. What a timeline that would be.
A head coach in waiting? There's no way you just said that. Head coach in waiting.
What a timeline if you just redid it. Defensive line coach, interim head coach to head coach. Like, he's back. You old dog.
I can't believe that said head coach in waiting.
If anybody could pull it off, though, that would
100%.
That would be the funniest
100%.
all-time timeline.
100%.
As Edo does the snake in the grass, comes back. He's like, I'll coach him. Interim ed gets him to a bowl game. You win the Fiesta Bowl.
Head coach in waiting is crazy. That's hilarious.
Oh, God.
Like, to me, I can be the crazy fan. Like, I was almost with you while you were reading it. If I'm going into my full fan mindset of, that would be pretty cool to have him back as a defensive line coach and, the whole deal where he can recruit and he can coach, blah, blah. Head coach in waiting, the guy that you just fired and paid $20 million to leave, you'll bring back as the head coach in waiting. Unbelievable.
But, yeah, that's what happens when you would... Now that LSU has no leaks in the building.
Right.
The fan theories get to run rampant, and that's a 0% chance of happening. I feel very confident
might even
in
be
saying.
less than 0.
But, yeah. I mean, if he had, if there was a different way in which he had left the building, I think, if he was out there at USC, be like, go get Coach O, and everybody would love it. Right?
Right.
And be like, oh, bring him home. He would love to coach at Louisiana. We've already seen this story happen. And then he did exactly that. Defensive line coach promoted to interim. Now he's there, wins the hearts of millions, becomes the head coach. If we're just sort of like, I don't know if you could have both of those people in the same room. Like, that's a lot of ego.
Yeah.
You can't have your real dad come back. Like,
yeah, he would walk in the building and be like, oh, you moved that picture over, huh? You got rid of that. You
start slowly changing things back.
I had a plaque. Hey, Brian. Oh, sorry, Coach Kelly. I had a plaque up there. What'd you do with it? Where's it at?
I'm gonna go ahead and move this national championship trophy in my office if that's okay.
What do you do with the this? Why'd you move that chair?
You know what I was head coach.
Back in my day when I was like that. That would be a. I would love if.
Give me Hard Knocks.
I'm gonna go full. Yeah, I'm gonna go full conspiracy theorist. If it did happen, I would kill to be a fly on that wall.
Oh my God! First day.
To just fly around. Not even first day. I'll just fly around the building every day.
Yeah.
Like,
buzz in.
What a mess that would be. But it's not gonna happen. There's absolutely 0 chance. Less than 0. Matthew Conkle in the chat. Are you in the Cloud Show chat?
Yeah.
Read what Conkle just put in there.
Daddy Gate. Update on Daddy Gate too.
Oh gosh, yeah.
They released a statement, and it's everything you'd want it to be and more. The dad is the father of the daughter. Released a statement, and it's just
a mess.
It is a mess. He's hired a forensics team for the
GoFundMe. Did you see the GoFundMe?
Yeah, that's for everybody though.
Cyberbullying GoFundMe.
Right. Okay. I don't think you're hurting, buddy.
Yeah, you're alive.
But you're like, this is for everybody else.
Right,
okay, that's whatever. But yeah, he put together a forensics team and an IT team, and he says basically he Liam Neeson'd it, and is like, we will find you. So if you're on Burgergate, what do you do? Break your phone, put it in the wood chipper.
Yeah.
Like, I guess I'll delete the account. Yeah. Good luck with everybody involved. Best of luck.
Yep. Prayers and thoughts.
But yeah, Daddy Gate would absolutely.
That's what I mean. But it would be.
You can't beat the king.
If you were to say right now, just go out on a limb and make your hire, who's the guy? I know I'm putting you on the spot a little bit here.
If I had to pick one, I don't even know enough about defensive line coaches, but the one that Glimmer brought up yesterday, the coach at Eric Henderson at USC. That is the one that has the most parallels to LSU.
Yeah.
And then you get the twofer with Jakeem Stewart. If you're able to swing and pull that off, that would be the pie in the sky.
I wonder what his contract is at USC.
But I don't know what I don't even know what the options are. Like, do you look around, and I guess you're trying at this point you're trying to hire somebody else away from a coaching job that they have, preferably like in the SEC, like you would have. And probably the most realistic situation that plays out is it's a guy that Brian Kelly in his long and tenured coaching career has a relationship with.
The Chargers.
Because of the way that the timing is working out, and if you've swung and missed already, and if you're having Zoom meetings and it becomes you make a hire that you're comfortable with, BK gets a guy in the building that he really doesn't have anymore and is able to kind of, rely on his old relationships to bring somebody back. That would be probably how this plays out. And I don't know if that's a win for LSU because I don't think anybody that you bring in is going to be better than what you lost.
No, not at all. And there is no – I don't think there's a world where that is –
I mean, how attractive is this job?
I don't know. Because I think, one, there's going to be advice where it's – do you really want to take that job? I mean, it's got turnover every single year. Something's obviously going on, which I don't think there is anything really going on per se. And when you talk about the last couple of times that coaches have left,
it's bizarre how it's played out.
But there's going to be people are going to talk about it just because something has to be happening. And then the second thing is, well, okay, how talented is the room right now? And I would go out on the limb to say it's still probably the least talented position group for LSU. When you're just looking at this is the deepest roster that Kelly's had. There is still talent in that room, obviously. When you're talking about Jacoby and Guillory coming back, you have a guy like Don McKinley, Ahmad Bro, go on and on. But to me, it's still the least talented room when you're talking about level of talent in a position group that LSU has. Would I be incorrect in saying that? When you're talking about the position groups at LSU?
I think it's the least talented.
I mean, obviously let's go from most talented to least. Wide receiver to me is number one. I would say quarterback is up there. I would say maybe tight end would be.
Quarterback is contingent on one.
Right. But still, I mean, the talent is still high there. Quarterback's kind of in a world of its own.
Yeah.
Running back, I think, is extremely talented. Even on the defensive side, I think linebacker is very talented.
I would say O-line is probably your most questioned because you at least have some proven commodities on the defensive line. On the offensive line, you're getting back some guys that you saw last year, but you're losing far more than what you're gaining. And I know what you did in the transfer portal, but they're unproven as far as if they can compete at this level. Because they're not guys that you went and got from other SEC programs. They're guys that played other places like a Virginia Tech. Where was the other one? Where's the
Northwestern?
Northwestern, like that. I mean, shout out Liam Shanahan. That's like, I know he probably is a little bit more highly touted, but that's kind of like the type of ball you're talking at Northwestern.
Right.
And so offensive line is probably my biggest question mark going into the year.
But if you were an offensive line coach, if Brad Davis wasn't here and that job was open, and you were an offensive line coach looking at the room, would that not be an attractive room when you're talking about Tyree Adams and Weston Banks?
Weston Davis.
And just going down the list.
Yeah, Paul Bubanga, DJ Chester, right. If they all were there, then yeah, but I'm saying that's just a more of an unproven commodity where you saw flashes, whether it's Ahmad Bro, Gabe Rilliford.
Gabe Rilliford wouldn't be in the room. He's a defensive end.
But I'm counting it as in totality. Like, you're going to coach the defense. He's a defensive lineman.
Well, to me, that's where the conversation changes, is because Peoples is still here as the defensive end.
Yeah, but you're looked as right. But if you take it at face value, if you're the defensive line coach, you still have they're in the same room together.
Right.
So that would be a part of your job description, and that's in my mind. You mentioned like Kevin Peoples, that would be a reason to take the job. It's like, oh, it's half the work.
Right, 100%.
Right. But, I mean, when you look at the talent, that's what I'm saying. Like, you have to consider him as part of the defensive line with Gabe Rilliford, Don McKinley, Ahmad Bro. You get Jacoby and Guillory back for a year.
Right.
Like, there's plenty to work with. And so I wouldn't say they're the least talented, but it's probably the thinnest of the bunch.
Right.
But
just to me, that plays into the attractiveness of the job opening. Of, okay, what am I going over there to work with?
Yeah, but you also know that LSU and how they've been very active in the transfer portal, you know that you have a chance to kind of rebuild this thing as you go.
Right.
Because it's not like you have to get in, get your foot in the door, start recruiting as LSU and reestablish relationships that maybe you don't have. Like, that's the biggest part to me in terms of the hire. And
I think even another part in that is how much do you think – and I'm asking you, how much do you think the talk around Brian Kelly and his job at LSU plays into this conversation of am I leaving this job to go join you? So if you don't make the college football playoff and it all gets blown up, I'm without a job.
Right. That I don't think it would. I think you're betting on yourself in a sense, and you do have to put some stock into Brian Kelly and his job security, because if he is the one that is making the hire, quote unquote, then you feel safe if you do because you're. It's a high risk, high reward in that regard, because I don't think Brian Kelly gets fired after, even if they don't make the college football playoff. Is the noise turned up? Absolutely. So you can at least guarantee yourself 2 years at the job unless you absolutely fumble it.
Right.
And so you have that in your back pocket of it's somewhat stable.
Right.
But it is volatile.
It's still somewhat still looms large.
Right.
So.
But I do wonder, LSU, if they went out and made Davis the highest paid defensive line coach. I wonder if they take that same tact again, because of now that's money. Well, you've seen. We had this conversation of LSU did all of this at the exact wrong time.
Right.
Where you have the highest paid defensive coordinator in the country, the highest paid defensive line coach in the country, and now you need to allocate some of those funds to the players. Now, do you take this opportunity as okay, now we don't have to spend $1.2 million on a defensive line coach. You can do $500,000, and that opens up another player for you.
Yep.
So I wonder what their strategy is in that, because that's a conversation you have to have.
Right, and I think that's when a name like Kyle Williams might pop up.
He'd do it for free.
Because you're not going to have to pay him $1.5 million.
No,
but if you go get a coach from another school, you're going to have to, one, pay the buyout.
Yep.
Which is going to cost however much. And then you have to give them a contract that's attractive enough for them to give up the one that you're buying out. So that's where it can get more expensive.
But don't get it twisted, it's still LSU.
100%. 100%. It would have to be somewhat competitive money-wise. Like, I mean, I'm not going to leave another SEC school to come to LSU for a half cut in my pay just because it's LSU. I mean, I would if I'm Noah Tingle, but if I'm making $1 million at, I don't know, South Carolina, I'm not going to leave there to go make.
Well, I'm not leaving South Carolina because of the room I have.
Right.
Like I just paid my freshman defensive end $1 million. Like, I feel pretty good about my job if he's here.
It's gonna be it's interesting conversation, and it's gonna be nice to see. Not nice to see. It's gonna be interesting to see the names that kind of pop up around it, if they do, because that's the change in the guard here at LSU. Is there's not really smoke screens or names that pop up or any type of discourse around it until it kind of happens,
which is great.
Which I love,
because that's how you get burned.
100%.
As you get to there's multiple stories of LSU getting to the finish line.
Left at the altar.
Yeah, not crossing it.
Right.
Yeah, so we'll see.
And we'll have Wilson Alexander join us here at 8:30.
Man has been working his fingers to the bone.
I mean, he's type.
Carpal tunneling.
And they've been great write-ups if you haven't seen him over at The Advocate. He said, I think he went on a stretch there where he had the Harold Perkins, Whit Weeks write-up, and then it turns into a Bo Davis write-up the next day. Great information. That's why we're going to have him join us here to close out this Friday to talk about some LSU football. So we'll be right back. We'll get that set up with a quick break here. We'll have Wilson Alexander to close out.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Click Here Digital, the home of the Jordy Culotta Show. Online at clickheredigital.com. If you're looking to set Google ads, set social media campaigns, learn about SEO, display video, or even creative, Click Here Digital has the answer for you. Online at clickheredigital.com or email me directly, Jordy at clickheredigital.com.
Family calls family. That saying resonates even more as your family grows. And we can't seem to stop growing. Meet the newest member of the Get Gordon family, Penny's cousin Rosie. Rosie already knows, the larger your family, the more people you have to lift you up during trying times. Just like at Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys, we've grown to over 200 team members with over 50 local attorneys. So whether you pick Penny, employ Ellie, roll with Rosie, or get Gordon, we want to be your lawyers for life.
Your lawyers for life.
Phil's Oyster Bar, a staple of South Louisiana since 1945, located in South Downs Shopping Center and online at philsoysterbar.com. If you log online, you can learn about the private party schedule, the catering menu, and even order online. Daily lunch specials Monday through Friday. Learn about the history when Gus Piazza took it over in the early 70s, made it an absolute stop-in for everyone who came through Baton Rouge, and now Anthony, his son, carrying on the tradition. Phil's Oyster Bar, South Downs Shopping Center, and online, philsoysterbar.com.
It's rare to find someone you can count on when it's go time. It's even more rare to find someone you can count on, well, all the time. At Sunshine, we're proud to offer the John Deere equipment you need and the team can defend on and off the field. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
Hey, Chino. Cut my headphones up, bro. You right there? Now I'm focused on getting deposits. Evil in the way, now I'm just driving around it. They said I need a soul searching, I already found it. I unlocked my other side, now I'm sounding astounded. Drive by and let it ride like I'm whipping a Tesla. Pressure never fazed me, cause I'm bigger than pressure. I'm on my grind, bullshit, can't fit in my schedule. I'ma do what's best with me, you can keep all your lectures. Spend the summer stacking bread, might be gone to November. Pulling up like Trey Young just to freeze up December. I got niggas on the blood like traditional sinners. OGs love me, so I hang with traditional winners. I took a break for a minute, I had to go charge up. Had to focus on my business, I'm coming back smarter. Hit up DJ, tell him go like I'm dropping the Carter. Coming back like KD, it's time to go harder. Bounce back, can't let you fold up. Keep pushing, can't let you slow up. Bounce back, can't let you fold up. Keep pushing, can't let you slow up. Bounce back, can't let you fold up. Keep pushing, can't let you slow up. Bounce back, can't let you fold up. Keep pushing, can't let you slow up.
All right, here we are closing out the Friday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, and we've got our friend, it's been a while, we've got our friend Wilson Alexander from The Advocate joining us this morning to talk LSU football. Wilson, good to talk to you. How are you?
Doing all right. How are y'all this morning?
Doing well. Trying to get through the week, get ready for Mardi Gras this weekend. Obviously, you've had a few really good write-ups this week. Uh-oh.
He probably got a phone call. The man's been busy as hell.
He has been. I mean, he's been. I was just about to address
AI Wilson.
Just about to address the busyness.
He has to reboot.
That's all right. We'll get it set up.
That's awesome.
I mean, that was kind of scary.
I hope he's okay.
It's like out of a movie.
Yeah,
where it's just
gone
later.
He's back.
All right, here we go.
Well, hard reboot for Wilson.
I don't know what happened. I'm so sorry.
No, you're okay. It did kind of scare us a tad. But obviously, like I was saying, some really good write-ups this week. The news broke yesterday. We'll get it started here. Bo Davis leaving LSU to go join Kellen Moore's staff in New Orleans. How big of a deal is this for Brian Kelly as they get into probably his biggest season at LSU?
This is a huge deal. I mean, they have had so much instability at the defensive line coach job for really a decade, but I think in particular over the past 5 years and throughout Brian Kelly's tenure too. I mean, I bring all that up to note that it's not just been a Brian Kelly problem. That this has been going on at LSU for a long time, where they just have not, since Brick Haley from 2009 to 2014, haven't had somebody at that spot for more than not even 2 calendar years. The only one who's really been in there for 2 full seasons is Bill Johnson from 2019 to 2020, and he came in, remember, at the start of spring preseason practice in 2019. So in 2023, obviously, was particularly chaotic, and so now for the 4th time in his 4 years at LSU, Brian Kelly is going to have to go find a different defensive line coach. And it is my understanding that Kevin Peoples will be able to oversee the whole position, edge rushers and defensive tackles, during the spring and kind of in the interim period here while they search for a replacement. A bit unclear how quickly a replacement could get in. So, in the meantime, Kevin can do it. But I don't think that's their plan long term moving forward. I think they liked having a dedicated defensive tackles coach and then a dedicated edge rushers coach. That's a model that Blake Baker had at Missouri and then brought here to LSU. And I think they want to continue to have that. But they're going to have to go and find another hire a little bit later in the coaching carousel than you would normally like to. And it's somebody they chased Bo Davis before whenever they needed defensive line coaches. They finally got him last year. Signed him to a very lucrative contract, but I don't know his reasons yet, really, for why he left for the Saints. I'll be interested to hear what those are. Maybe we'll find out whenever the Saints make him, available to media. But it's certainly a blow to LSU because he brought in a guy who this is his alma mater, highly respected, good developer of talent at a position that you needed to kind of rebuild, and now you are having to search for a new defensive tackles coach again.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the timing of it. Obviously, that plays a massive part in the search. How big of a deal is it in this job search as they look for somebody to be, the defensive tackles D-line coach, and the fact that spring football is about to start? You still have the spring portal window to open up as well. What role does that kind of play in this search?
Yeah, the timing definitely is not ideal. It's for the reasons that you just listed. I mean, you're about to go through a spring where you need to develop some young talent and continue to make those guys better. Ahmad Breaux and Dominic McKinley in particular. Jacobian Guillory isn't going to be able to do full 11-on-11 stuff as he's coming off his Achilles, but there's a lot of guys in that room who are pretty young who need to keep getting coached up. And so that's where it's good for LSU that they have Kevin Peoples, that he has experience doing this. But yeah, with the portal opening too, I don't know how aggressive LSU wanted to be in like the defensive tackle market in the spring, but it's not ideal at any point in college football when you don't necessarily have if you don't have your coach in place by then. And LSU could maybe get a coach in place by then. We'll see. The thing is, I mean, back in 2023. Like they went and they found Jimmy Lindsey after spring practice ended, and we don't know how it would have worked out with Jimmy Lindsey because he had that health issue. Like that would have been a good hire or not. So they hired him away from South Carolina right after spring practice. So it's not the end of the world in terms of the timing. Like it, I think they'll still be able to go and get a good coach. They have now, I mean, $1.35 million what Bo Davis was owed this year. And so you have that to work with, and that can be very attractive, and especially to get somebody to try to come to LSU, I think that they will, still be able to make a hire. It's just the timing isn't great when you're about to start spring ball.
Definitely. And to talk about that room, the defensive line room in itself, the talent there is something that grew almost exponentially with Bo Davis here at LSU. What are the expectations for that group, especially now with the changes? But what are the expectations for the defensive line?
Yeah, I mean, those young guys are going to need to step up. Ahmad Breaux and Dominic McKinley, who got some significant snaps as freshmen, started doing some good things, but took some lumps too, and they need to continue to develop. Jacobian Guillory, even, I mean, as a 6th-year senior coming back off of that Achilles, like he needs to continue to get better to try to maximize what he can do. You've got a lot of freshmen who are in that room now. Bo Davis signed 4 defensive tackles, and they need to get developed. And I think that's, they don't have a lot of experience when you look at that position right now, and so they're expecting some players to take a step forward this year. That's kind of where they're at. And so it's going to be a critical offseason for that defensive tackle position. I mean, obviously the offseason is critical for everybody on the team, but that's a spot where you didn't really bring in a whole lot of transfers who you can just kind of plug and play. So you got to have those defensive tackles, those young guys develop and continue to get better in order for you to be able to improve your run defense. LSU's run defense the past 2 years has not been very good. I think it was ranked 12th, 13th in the SEC the past 2 years. And so that needs to change. And a lot of that starts up front there in the middle.
You mentioned, obviously, that LSU has not been the most active in the transfer portal, or if they are looking in the transfer portal for the second window. My question is, should they be concerned about maybe retention of their own room now that you see, obviously, the Ahmad Bro tweet that comes out where he was obviously affected by the news? And so I'm wondering if LSU was without a hire for a while. You obviously have Kevin Peoples kind of taking like the president in waiting, I guess. Like he's I'll go to the war room right now. But with that, if they don't make a hire and the amount of time that they need to, is that a concern for LSU that maybe they don't have with the talent that was brought in by Bo Davis? Is there a chance that he maybe loses, like the next guy won't have that same room to operate with?
Yeah, I mean, it could be, that's just the nature of college football right now, where, these guys, they have the ability to leave if they want to after spring practice. And if they go through the spring and they don't like the situation, they can just hop in the portal. That's fine. So it could be a concern. I don't want to just say oh, everybody's going to leave, because I don't know. They also, I'm sure those guys have relationships with other people on staff, and especially with some of them, they're local kids, like Bro and McKinley are both. We just use them as examples. Are Louisiana guys, and so that's something that usually keeps you home. But we'll just have to kind of see how it plays out. It could be a concern. I don't know exactly how much of a level of concern that would be. Just because LSU will, I'm sure, do everything it can to keep them. But that's the nature of the sport right now. They can leave if they want to. So it could be a concern when your position coach leaves if they're close to that person. I mean, we saw it a couple of years back with, Mason Smith leaving, and part of his reasoning was the uncertainty around the defensive line coach when he left early for the NFL. So those things do play factors, but I'm not sure exactly how it'll affect the room.
The other write-up that you got done this week was talking about Harold Perkins and Whit Weeks and kind of their injury journey as they're getting ready for summer and fall, and they won't be a part of spring. How big of a factor will that play that they won't be able to be a part of spring football, just kind of in the continuity of this defense?
Yeah, you obviously would prefer to have them out there, but they're also veteran guys. And I think Whit in particular, to where I don't know that it's a huge deal that Whit Weeks won't be out there, fully practicing. I would expect we see him around on the field, maybe in that way, his voice can still carry a lot of weight. He's one of the leaders of this team. And we've already seen, LSU put out videos where he isn't, necessarily training, but he's with the other players while he's training. And so because he's already had so many snaps last year, I don't know that that's necessarily a big deal. But Harold not being out there is, it compresses the timeline that LSU has to get him ready to play that star position. I think they would probably, you'd prefer for him to be out there, certainly, as you kind of work with him on that spot. He's got experience playing something similar to the star at strong side linebacker in 2023, and even sort of part of last season before his injury. Those roles can have similar responsibilities in the defense, but that's definitely something that they're going to have to kind of work with him on mentally, and film rooms and things like that in the meantime, while he continues to get his knee stronger. Brian Kelly said that Harold has started doing football related movements, but he's not at a point where he had an ACL injury in September, so it's not at a point where he can come back and fully practice here in the spring. But they are Brian Kelly was really optimistic that those two guys will be fully cleared in June, and then gives them basically 8 weeks to get their conditioning up, and then all of preseason practice to work with them in the middle of the defense. And so he wasn't concerned about that part of it, but obviously you'd prefer to have your guys out there if they could be.
And with Harold Perkins continuing, obviously there was a lot made of his body changing to be able to play the inside part of the linebacker role, where I think you even did the write-up on how he was able to gain weight and what he did to do so. And I do wonder now, with the injury and having this timeline, do you think that you see a different version of Harold Perkins to where he looks kind of back to that freshman season where he's a little bit slimmer and moving around a little bit more, as opposed to trying to add weight to play in the middle?
Brian Kelly mentioned his weight when we spoke a little bit further about Harold. I was, Kelly's comments on that.
Brian Kelly knows how to lose it now.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. All the biking and all that sort of stuff. But he mentioned that Harold was still kind of in that 225 range. But I think that they think he can kind of hold that and still be what he needs to be as a star in that hybrid position. I don't think they want him to like slim back down necessarily to play the star position. Maybe over the course of the offseason that changes or something. But Kelly mentioned he's still in that sort of 225 range after he put on that weight last year. I think we saw it when he, in moments, when LSU actually blitzed him and he was able to kind of move around in space, that he still was moving around well in space. He was still fast and athletic, even at that weight. But that I think for them, with that star position, asking Kelly about, okay, so why is he now moving to this after he spent all of last year trying to get him to play inside linebacker? He's indicated that they sort of realized like having him get caught up in the wash just isn't what he needs to be, that he needs to be able to move around in space, play out on the edge and in sort of on the hash, and be able to just run and, try to make teams block him with wide receivers and tight ends and running backs instead of, 330-pound offensive linemen. Because unless Harold put on a lot of weight, he's just not going to have that size, and it's maybe not in his skill set to be able to take on those blocks. So they decided in conjunction with Harold that he was going to move to that star position this year.
Yeah, and with him moving over to the star position, what's a name in that linebacker room that you kind of expect to step up and kind of fill a role next to Whit Weeks back there in the defense?
I expect to see a lot of Devon Keys because that's what we saw at the end of last season. Now, is Devon a straight middle linebacker? Is Whit a straight middle linebacker? They didn't play that last year, really. Devon kind of was at that strong side linebacker position, which is sort of kind of a star spot last year toward the end of the season when LSU was using that 3 linebacker look. So maybe a lot of West Weeks too. West came back kind of for that purpose, to be able to provide some experience in the room, and he's got more of the size of a middle linebacker, kind of like Greg Penn had last year. He's not necessarily, I think, as fast as his younger brother, or maybe even as Devon. They have different skill sets, but so it'll be interesting to see kind of how LSU plays that, where they don't. Where West is probably the true middle linebacker, but Devon has shown so much promise. We'll get to see a lot of them, both of them in the spring. I would imagine that West and Devon are getting a lot of those first team linebacker reps with Whit and with Harold out. And so those two would be, excuse me, I got something in my eye. Those two would be names to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and you bring up spring football and getting to see them. What are some other names that you're looking forward to seeing out there as spring football gets started in about a week or so?
I can't wait to see DJ Pickett actually get in action, because we only saw this little glimpse of him in the bowl game. When we went to a bowl practice in Houston, and they're at Houston's stadium, and DJ was just off to the side training with Jacoby Stevens and by himself in that setting. And so for him to actually see this 5-star who could maybe start day one at cornerback out there getting reps, going up against these receivers that LSU's brought in. I'm excited to see him, and also all these transfers. Every single one of them. LSU brought in this transfer portal class to transform this roster, and to actually get to see these guys start to practice, how they fit into things, how fast really are these receivers, that kind of stuff. I'm excited to see all of them as well, because a lot of new faces. They're going to have a big impact on the team next year.
Yeah, and you also did a write-up on LSU's spring game. What are you expecting some of those changes to look like? Obviously, LSU's still going to have one, not be like Nebraska and those other schools that are canceling them. What are your expectations for what that's going to look like?
Yeah, not fully clear what the changes are yet. Brian Kelly wouldn't go into those details as to what it is that he's going to do differently, but I think maybe let's start calling it a spring event of some kind instead of a spring game this year. He said there's going to be live action, but didn't necessarily specify what that means. And I think they're just kind of in this transition and trying to figure out, okay, what is it that they want to do? What do they want to show? Because Kelly did say they want to show DJ Pickett and give people a chance to see these players. But is it going to be in a spring game format? I don't think so. And so we'll have to kind of wait for them to come out with more of those details. There will obviously, there's still going to be something to watch on TV. I mean, the SEC Network wants programming, so they're probably going to want these teams across the SEC to have something. But is it like a full-on Ole Miss Grove games type deal? I don't know that they're going to go to that extent necessarily, but I don't know that they're not going to play the traditional spring game. I don't think either. So somewhere in the middle of those two things, possibly.
Wilson, we have a guest request from the chat. We've been doing some of these New York Times puzzle games. Some of them have all been sports related because I'm out of my depth when it comes to Wordle. But now that you're here and a wordsmith yourself, we're pulling up the New York Times Wordle. Have you already played it today?
No, I've never played it.
You've never played Wordle? Wow. Well,
no.
Do you know how it works?
So you're, boy, I don't know. I hope that I can help you out. I don't know that I'm going to be any good at this.
We're going through this journey together.
Yeah, I think this is Lloyd's first time.
Let's help
each other. How do you do this?
Yeah, so I think Wordle is you
guess one letter.
You pick a five-letter word.
Okay.
You put that at the top, and it's either going to be green, yellow, or
gray.
Yeah, gray. If it's green, that means it's the right letter in the right spot. If it's yellow, that means it's the right letter in the wrong spot. And you just kind of fill it in as you go.
So do you have to put a word in right now, or do you just put in letters?
You have to put in a word. Everything has to be a word.
Oh.
A 5-letter word? So it could be any 5-letter word.
It doesn't give you a starting point? That's not fun.
Yeah, that's right. Dude, I'm telling you. Like, I don't know how people do this to themselves. This was supposed to be my Sudoku. Like, I was a good English student, and this is like, it breaks my brain. I was like, never mind. I'm going to watch what's my guy that does the sports trivia for ESPN? Stump the Schwab. Give me that. Because this is, but we could start right now. Name any 5-letter word.
Okay. Let's go with tiger.
Oh, nice.
That's a good one. Let's see it.
Y'all got, LSU on the brain,
Of course.
Let's see.
Just hit enter and see what.
Oh, dear God.
Oh, God. So those are off the board.
Yep.
Eliminated anything. Okay. Oh, my goodness. Well, at least it's sort of, process of elimination.
Right.
Let's see.
So it has that was a
Ooh, my brain doesn't work quick enough on these things, I think, for even in a 2-hour show to be able to come up with another word, frankly. Oh, gosh. Well, because the next one that came to mind was money, but we don't have the E. So
money. I'm gonna do bands.
There we go. Hey,
That's a good
thank
one.
you.
That's a good one.
As the kids say.
The youths.
Oh no.
What? How is none of those? How are none of those letters?
The next thing to look at is vowels. We've got what?
Yeah, we don't have O and
left.
U.
So
they don't even give you a hint. Nothing.
No.
So we have O and
gosh.
Oh no, D. I was gonna say wood. WOULD, but there's no D.
Guys, we are
not
good at this.
I knew this might be. I was really relying on you.
This is a really bad look for
journalists everywhere.
Who supposedly work with words for a living.
This is AI.
Golly.
See, this is
we're all going to get replaced.
Well, this is what I would like. I would look at your paper for this, and I would be like, "Ooh, we both failed."
I keep coming back to the MO for some reason as like it's a way to start a word, kind of thing to try to, like you said, use those vowels. But I don't know where to go from there without the other ones. So I don't know. Do y'all have any ideas here?
I was on like the OU trying to put those together.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to do house, but that's out. But that's only 4. Yeah, no, that's 5.
Mm-hmm.
Phase.
I don't mean, is it a total waste of a guess to do something like that just to see if the HOU work?
Could COULD?
Oh, genius!
He's smarter than he looks.
D is the only one that's out. But
you could still use them. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay, we can figure out.
We got a U.
Okay, we got a U. So the U is our lone vowel. Our lone vowel.
And it's not in that place, correct?
It's not in that place. It's
okay.
Just in there somewhere.
And so,
I mean, it's got to be the second letter for a word to make any sense, right?
Yeah.
So these are just.
Could it be a QU something?
Okay, QU.
Like, but
quiet?
we don't have any.
No, we don't have.
We don't have the I or the E.
Oh, okay. How do I get rid of it?
So,
There's a
here we go.
backspace by the M. Yeah.
Quit.
No I.
This is so.
Oh, we
bad.
can't use I either.
Yeah.
QU. I think they're all tough.
I mean, I've done easier ones before.
Maybe then it maybe isn't. It wouldn't be QU then. It would need another vowel, I think.
PUM.
I get you could use. I think you could still use the U twice. I think you can double up a letter. So you can. You could be. It could be.
Pummel.
No, that's got to
many.
have an E. That's also too many.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Jeez.
I feel like we should just stop and go find a parade to watch.
Yeah.
Right.
Can you just give up?
I guess maybe. I mean, you can just type in random words to close it out.
This is it. Let's see if the chat says anything.
The viewer who asked this of us is diabolical.
Oh, lucky.
Lucky.
Hey.
Wow. Oh, there's no L, but I mean, we could still try.
Yeah, it's still. Let's give it a go because we're clearly are outsourcing this. Okay.
The U is.
Oh, there we go.
Okay. So. Fuzzy. 2 Z's.
No way.
F-U-Z-Z-Y.
Get him.
Oh, enter.
Come on.
Let's
go! Look at him go! Look at our guy.
There we go.
The one non-writer in here.
Made it happen.
Fantastic. I wouldn't have gotten there. It was just the brain was not going to do it.
No, my hands are kind of sweating.
Yeah.
Well done, sir.
Thank you, sir. That's
all.
all.
Thank you for saving us.
Yes. So next time you come on, be prepared. We're all gonna. This is a new.
Oh, don't do this to me again.
Thank you for playing along with us, Wilson.
Appreciate you this morning.
Happy to do it.
Absolutely.
Y'all have a good Mardi Gras.
You too.
Well.
Oh my God! What
Wow.
whoa!
That was my hands are getting like a little sweaty. We really had to lock in there. Fuzzy.
Fuzzy Wuzzy was the bear. Fuzzy Wuzzy had no hair.
Come on, double Z. But that's a good one. Good day. Good interview from Wilson. Great insight on kind of the situation with Bo Davis, but along with kind of Harold Perkins and the way that they're approaching that situation. It's going to be a big spring for LSU. Obviously, this offseason's been important from the start, but it's only gotten more important as time's gone on. But, of course, great way to close it out this morning. We've got Mardi Gras this weekend. Obviously, enjoy all of the festivities, the parades, everything. If you see Lloyd, are you going to be out there at anything or?
No, I've retired from the parades.
I had a feeling
because I had a hell of a run.
I'm sure I can only imagine.
Because my birthday is March 5th, so sometimes Bacchus would fall on my birthday.
Oh wow!
And so I started young.
That would have been
about 8 years old. I've been going to New Orleans for parades, and my brother lived there for a long stretch where we didn't miss one. And then at one point we were all sitting on the sidewalk, contemplating on day 4, why are we doing? Nobody wanted to go and do anything. Like we had done all the appropriate reasons that we should have fun. And we were still tapped. And it's like, why are we doing this to ourselves? Right. So that was when I bottomed out.
Yep.
But for those that do go, have a good time.
Of
Catch
course.
something.
Enjoy
Throw me
yourself.
something, mister.
Yep. We'll be back next week with more. Hopefully some good news to come for LSU football to get us out of this rut of sadness that Bo Davis has left us in. Obviously, don't forget, starting next week, live only on the Culotta Show channel. And then we will be Spring football will get started in about a week or so as well. We'll have that content coming to you as well. So we'll be back. We appreciate y'all this morning, and we'll be back on Monday, 7 to 9 on the Culotta Show channel. And don't forget, Roback. Where's the logo at? Which sleeve? This one. Pet that dog.
Pet that pup.
Tigers, Tigers, 20% off. Get your Roback gear. Get ready for LSU baseball today at 2. LSU women's basketball and men's basketball this weekend. We'll be back on Monday. Love ya.
Love ya. King.